Hey there guys, just a guy having fun at the range, and it's time for another Glock run through. We're doing the large frame Glocks kind of all together because, so I don't have all of them, but we have a lot of them. So we're going to talk through all of them, and I'm going to shoot the ones that I have and explain why I don't have some of the other ones, but we're going to do both 10 millimeter and 45 ACP. The reason for that is because both the 10 mils and the 45 ACPs use the same frame size, the same slide size, and it's different than your standard Glock 17, 22, so on and so forth. Okay, so let's talk through the different models real quick, and then we'll do some shooting. So the first one that we have is missing is the Glock Model 20, and that would be your standard frame 10 millimeter. Now 10 millimeter is essentially a 40 Smith & Wesson Magnum. And those that know the history, this actually came first. The 10 millimeter came first. The 40 Smith & Wesson, the 40 short and weak, is the successor to the 10 millimeter because the 10 millimeter was just a little bit too powerful for what they wanted it for. So the Model 20 is the standard size. Now it would be exactly the same size as this Model 21. Okay. Now why don't I have a Model 20? Well, I have a Model 40, and the Model 40 is so much better than the Model 20. Well, why would I get a Model 20? So that's why I don't have a Model 20. We'll get to the 40 in just a moment. But here's a Model 21, full-size frame, 4.5-inch barrel, and a whopping 13 rounds of 45 ACP in the 21. So you'll notice that all of the 10s and 45s are in pairs, 2021. Next up, we have the 29 and a 30. I'm going to make a 30S with this upper. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But 29 and 30, these are the Subcompacts. I think it's like a 3.8-inch barrel. It's not quite a 3.5. It's not quite as small as the baby Glocks, the 26, 27, and 33. But it is a pretty tiny package, and you get 10 rounds of 10 millimeter in the 29, or 10 rounds of 45 in the 30 or the 30S. So 29 is a nice one. We'll shoot that one. It's fun. The 29, the 30, however, you'll notice I don't have one, and I don't have a 30 specifically because this slide, which is off of my 36, can actually go on my 29 lower, and I can have a 30S, which has become the more popular of the Glock Model 30s. So it's a little bit thinner of a slide, which is where the S comes from, but the same frame, the same double stack frame, is the 30 or the 30S. So this one represents a 30S, and that's what we're going to shoot off of that frame. Then we have the 36. Now, if you look at the Glock model numbers, the 30s, with the exception of the 34 and the 35, are kind of Glock's biggest regrets. The 31, 32, 33 being the 357 SIGs. 357 SIG really didn't take off. It's not really that popular, so they're not really producing new 31, 32, 33s. Now, they still have their Gen 4s, and they do still have new production ones. I doubt we'll see a Gen 5. Okay. The 36 is a slimline single stack 45 ACP. It's 6 rounds of 45. It's not great, but we'll get to that when we shoot it. But it is a 6-shot, single stack 45 ACP is the Glock 36. Then, of course, 37, 38, 39 is 45 gap. Stay tuned. We've got a video about those coming up. Then we have the 40, and missing here would be the 41. So the 40 is a 6-inch barrel, similar to a Glock 17L or a Glock 24, but in 10 millimeter. So you get that beautiful 15 rounds of 10 millimeter in a 6-inch barrel. This is one of my favorite Glocks of all time. And you'll notice I have shown it in my favor by giving it my one red dot that I have. So I really like this one. We're going to shoot that one a bit. It is a really fine shooting firearm. So looking forward to that one. The 41. The 41 is the last of the large frame. It would be a 45 ACP, not with the full 6-inch, but with a 5.25-inch barrel. So similar to the Glock 34, Glock 35, the competition Glocks, that's what the Glock 41 would be. Again, I have not gotten a Glock 41 because the Glock 21 shoots just about as well, and I'm not going to use 45 for competition. I'm going to use my 9mm Glock 34 or something like that. or even my Glock 24 17L, as opposed to getting a competition 45. So I don't have one, but rest assured it would be similar in length to this guy, but with the cartridge of this guy. And according to the things that I've seen online, it shoots fairly similarly to the 21, just because they lightened the slide on it. Even though it's longer, it's about the same mass. So the felt recoil and everything is about the same as the 21. Okay, that's enough talking. Let's actually shoot some of these guys. Okay, so as I mentioned, I don't have a 20, so I'm going to skip over to a 21. Now I still have my Glock 17, Glock 19 holster on here, and you'll notice that these guys don't quite fit, okay? We need a different holster for the larger frame because the slides are thicker and the grip lengths are different and stuff like that. So we actually need a different holster. Let me grab one. All right, so here is a Glock large frame holster. So this will fit my 20, my 40, my 21 or my 40. Don't have a 20. It has a little bit of an issue with the smaller frames, the compacts. The trigger guard is just a little bit thicker on the compact ones, so it doesn't always fit quite as nicely. But anyway, we're probably not going to do much holster work with these guys. But let's shoot a couple of 45 ACPs out of a Glock 21, full size. Glock 21, these are 230 grain 45 ACPs. They should put those plates down with some authority. Oh, if I can hit them. There we go. It was shooting a little bit high. I'm pretty much holding right on the bottom edge of those plates. But again, the 21, yeah, it's a 45 ACP. So it's more than a 9, it's more than a 40, but it's really not a bad package. You've got a nice heavy slide, a good heavy spring, and that's helping to absorb a lot of that recoil. So it's really not that bad. If only I could hit stuff. As far as the felt recoil. So if you're looking to get into a 45, in a 1911, because that's really where 45 belongs, but an XDM or a Glock with a nice heavy slide, not a bad option for 45. All right, so now let's move over to our subcompacts. So here is my Glock 29. This one's in 10 millimeter. And as I said, it kind of sticks in the holster, so I'm just going to keep it out. But this is 10 millimeter, so 180 grain 10 millimeter as opposed to the 230 grain 45. Very small package for 10 millimeter, but it's not a bad package to shoot. Oh, come on. There it is. Got it on that last one. Okay. Not sure how many were in there. Seemed like a weird amount. Yeah, let me know in the comments below how many shots that was. Okay. You'll notice there's a bit more muzzle flip. It's a lot harder to manage the recoil of a 10 millimeter in a small package like this with a short grip, but it's not terrible if you're used to 10 millimeter. Would not recommend this as a first-time shooter. This is not your first gun. Do not get a compact or a subcompact as your first gun. You just won't enjoy shooting it, and you won't be able to shoot it well. All right, now we're gonna make a 30S. So I'm using that double stack frame from the Glock 29, but a slimmer slide. The 30 would have the same thickness of slide as that Model 29. This is a slimmer slide than the 29, and the 30, this is a 30S essentially. So let's go ahead and put a few rounds of 45 ACP through that. And you'll notice with the magazine, there's a little bit of an extension there. That's stock, that's not an add-on, but it gives you that little pinky rest, which like the Glock 33, the Glock 26, 27, you have to get an extended mag to get that. This kind of feels like a compact Glock to me, which is a good thing, because this is a hefty round to be shooting in such a small package. Let's get those targets up. All right, 45 ACP out of a 30S. Oh, come on. There it is. There it is. All right, we were picking it up. As I've said in other videos where we've had the smaller slides, smaller frame pistols, one of the beautiful things about a short slide like this is the pickup on the sights. because the sight radius is so small, there's less variability in there. You're less precise downrange, but you can pick up that front sight and establish your sight picture a lot faster. There's a lot less movement that you need. So getting onto those plates, I was trying to slow myself down because I was getting my sights lined up the way that I wanted to, but I wanted to make sure I had a smooth trigger press rather than just mashing it and driving it down into the angle iron there. Again, for some reason, I'm placing my sights almost on the bottom of the plate in order to hit those. Not sure why that is today, but something about it, it's shooting high. Okay, so that's a 30S. Now, the slide that I was using is actually a Glock 36 slide. This, I think, was Glock's most terrible mistake, other than the 45 gap, which didn't quite catch on. Good idea in principle, but it didn't quite catch on. This, I think, is where they decided we should take a step back and think about what we're doing rather than just throwing stuff out there. It's not that it's terrible, it's just terrible. Okay. The slimmer slide gives you less surface area in your hand, so more of that recoil is absorbed into the palm of your hand. 45 is not a docile cartridge, and to get it in a slim slide like this in a small package, it just isn't comfortable to shoot. I'm going to do it for you guys because I love you, but yeah, it's not great. And so the 36s, this is probably the most common Glock that I see in pawn shops, in gun shows, etc., especially when all the other good Glocks have been taken out. This is the one that I still see there. I think one of the ones in Dubuque, they had like 6 of these just in a stack in the corner of their Glock cabinet, and nobody was buying them. So if you really, really want a 45 caliber Glock, and you don't mind it being horrible, Glock 36 is an option. Wouldn't necessarily recommend it. A Springfield XDS, actually, and here I'm advertising for somebody else when I'm shooting Glocks, and Glocks are my favorite, don't get me wrong, but I shot a Springfield XDS in 45 once, and I was shocked. It was actually just really nice to shoot. I'm not sure if it was because it was brand new or the spring system was correct or what they did to make it feel comfortable, but a Springfield XDS is very similar in dimensions, and I enjoyed shooting that. It's been a while since I've shot a Glock 36. Let's see how we can do. Helps if you load it first. Always check your work. All right. Heavy trigger, heavy trigger. There it is. Yeah, I'm hitting high again. There it is. Yeah, for some reason I'm hitting high. Again, I'm putting my sights pretty much right at 6 o'clock on those plates. I'm shooting at just over 12 yards. I wouldn't expect that to go so high, but who knows? All right, anyway, it's just punchy. Even the 30S is more comfortable because you've got that larger hand-filling grip. I don't like the 36, so that's the long and short of it. It's a slim line, 45 ACP. It just isn't fun to shoot, in my opinion. Okay, so after the 36, the next up is the 40, the Model 40, which is somewhat confusing for people who aren't quite aware of the difference between the numbering on a Glock and the caliber of a Glock. Glock Model 40. This is a Gen 4, and I love it. I love it. Let me get my red dot turned on here. Yeah, it's a little dim on this bright sunny day. Get that loaded up. Oh yeah, we like this guy. Of course, now that I've said that, I'm going to miss every shot. So let's start with a couple of slow shots and just make sure that that red dot's still on target, and then maybe we'll speed it up a little bit. You can just get going with this thing. I love it. I love it a lot. In fact, I have this magazine here reminding me that there's supposed to be a Model 20 there. I think we're going to use it for the Model 40. Right. If you haven't shot an RMR, a rear mount red dot, on a firearm before, it's kind of neat. I'm not going to say that this is my preferred or suggested optic. I have trouble kind of finding the red dot as I'm coming up and out of the holster. I'm used to looking for that front sight and bringing those rear sights up behind it. The red dot's just a little bit different of a feel. But it is really neat to have a little pinpoint of red that if it's anywhere on that plate, I can press the trigger and it'll take that plate down. It's very precise. I can see the entirety of the plate rather than my sights, cutting off half of the plate. It's really neat to be able to bounce around with that, especially if you have like a 9mm. You've seen the competitive shooters who are just ting, 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 ting. The reason that they can do that is because they can see everything that's going on, and as soon as that red dot is on that plate, it's a trigger press, trigger press, trigger press. So not too bad. Let's see if we can do it a little bit faster. Again, my pickup on the red dot is difficult, so I'm going to be slow on my first shot. We'll see if I can speed it up as we go across. Didn't lock back on the last one, but we're moving, and that's a 10mm. This is 180 grains, shooting at over 1,200 feet per second, especially out of this 6-inch barrel. We're talking nearly, see, not quite double a 9, but a lot more power than a 9mm, and I'm running those plates as though it's a Glock 17. Oh, I lost my sight there. A little bit of a malfunction. Oh, I got too excited. We were moving too fast. Oh. There it is. You just can't miss with this thing. So this is the reason why I haven't gotten a Glock 20. I love the Glock 40. This thing is just so much fun to shoot. You're putting so much power down range, and because of the big heavy slide, the recoil spring that they have in here, it doesn't feel like you're shooting a ton. Okay? I'm super excited about Glock 40s. Couldn't tell. This is my happy place. All right. Also, why I haven't gotten a Glock 41 is just, even if the 41 was shooting as easily as this, I just don't know. I love that 10mm feel. I have a hard time switching over to a 45 for that. But that guy's a lot of fun. Turn this red dot off so I don't lose my battery. Anyway, so a 41, 5 1/4 inch version of that, full size in 45. All right, I think that's all of them. That's all the large frames. Sorry that I didn't have an example of each of them. I mentioned 45 gap earlier. Stay tuned. There's going to be a video on 45 gap in the near future. Hope that you enjoyed that, and we'll see you next time. Stay safe and go have some fun at the range.